thanks for all of you to be here and accepting our invitations. As you know, we're both partnering with you, and it shows a lot of trust. Also that you guys are joining at the same time. Sebastian, I think you're in Dublin still, I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Is joining here from LinkedIn as the Senior Account Executive there for Modern Selling for the DACH region and Poland. Has been in various sales positions before with DHL, Deutsche Post, and a bunch of others. And same with Frederick, who is now business owner at Xing Pro Business. So the premium side of Xing has also been with various sales and business development positions in the past. And also Peter here has sold a sales company before, and now with Artificial Link built up an agency for social selling. So I think there's quite a lot of sales knowledge combined on the stage. And yeah, I'm happy to hear what you guys have to say. Also, how we can get or leverage both of your platforms even better, and where one is more unique than the other, and where to take it from there. I'll be out. I jump in maybe probably later with a few of the questions that we're having in the audience, and yeah, enjoy the discussion for now.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tobias. So thank you, Tobias, for this very kind introduction. A few words up front, just to show kind of how important this panel is. Both of you, even you're quite up in the ladder, had to get clearance, like really from the top, that we can do this panel today. But as I said, it's a show of trust, I mean, in us as your partner, but it also, I think it's a show of trust of your companies in the both of you, to have you together on this panel. And for that, I would ask a question I've already asked before. And do you have, actually, Frederick, do you have a LinkedIn account?
Yes, I do, of course.
And Sebastian, do you have a Xing account?
Yes, I also do have a Xing account, exactly.
So you also know kind of the other side of the rainbow, if you want to have it like that. And before we jump kind of into the platforms and kind of in the more controversial topics, I would like to understand more how your day is looking like. So probably Sebastian, you can take a lead and tell a few words or a few sentences about kind of what you do in and out at LinkedIn.
So basically my main job is concentrating on the DACH and now also the CE in the Poland region to really work with sales leaders, CSO, CEOs, and so on, to really see how to digitalize or how to modernize the sales force, and there to really to see how do the teams work, how can they make the best out of the platform, how they get new leads, how do they get the right decision makers at the right time, to really get away of this traditional sales techniques where you had maybe face-to-face meetings, or you were on trade fair and events, or you made cold calls, to really get away, or even have a parallel approach to also approach them via social networks. So we call it the social selling strategy, to really how to leverage social networks to get to new leads, to get introduced to decision makers, and to in the end make the deal.
Thank you, Frederick.
Yeah, I think my role is kind of two-headed. First of all, I'm as a business owner, I'm responsible for business planning and strategy. So I kind of think about how we can position social selling with our target market, how we can develop our products, which go-to-market strategies and measures we want to implement. And secondly, I also lead the sales organization for Xing Pro Business for our social selling product. So I get into contact with sales leaders from time to time, but I think not as much as Sebastian does in the daily business.
Very interesting. Thank you for that insight. I would like to understand as how would you also as kind of the owner and the product owner, if you want like that, or the business owner, and from this side kind of differentiate Xing from LinkedIn?
How would I differentiate it? Well, I can tell you what our customers saying, but I think first of all from some point of view, it's a matter of preference, of course. Yeah. So there are many people on LinkedIn, there are many people on Xing, and it always depends on where you can find your customers and where you can implement your sales strategy best, your social selling strategy best. But what I get back from customers is that, especially in, I mean, you know that the DACH region is pretty strong in the secondary sector and manufacturing especially. So we have a strong presence there. And we have a strong presence in small and medium-sized companies. In fact, I just read it up. Almost half of our member base is in companies smaller than 200 employees. So we have a strong presence in small and medium-sized enterprises. And what I find interesting for sales is that Xing has a strong presence in the operational functions and divisions. So for example, if you're selling a marketing analytics tool and you want to sell to marketers directly, land and expand in your sales approach, you are much more likely to also see those people on Xing. That's what I get back from customers.
Sebastian, how would you differentiate LinkedIn?
I think one key aspect where what everybody knows about is, of course, the internationality. So the geographic difference between LinkedIn and Xing, where LinkedIn sees like the global workforce, and this is one of our mission as well, and to really emphasize that we want to help every member of the global workforce to really make best use of the platform. So this is one aspect compared to that. Then also is that LinkedIn is like a tool like we have Facebook. We know we have the international internationalization, but also the content on this platform, right? A lot of people are posting. I think it's pretty similar to Xing as well. But you have a possibility that everybody can post something. You have a home screen where you can scroll to all the activities that your network is doing, and to really read some articles, see what other people are doing, connecting with others. So it's like a living platform as such. And then what you just said regarding the target group, when I think about sales, is if you want to go on a higher level in the hierarchy, right? So either it's multinational companies that you want to target, or really leaders, vice presidents of different departments that are working multinationally as well. So there's definitely like the key focus also on those target groups when we talk to our sales leaders of bigger organizations, international and multinational organizations. And so this is where you can find those people most often.
Thank you very much for that. And by the way, if you have questions,
absolutely,
for sure, feel free
we will.
To fire regarding that. What,
Frederick, if you think that I'm wrong or something like that, then just forbid.
You're always welcome to do that. Both sides. Sebastian, you're talking day in, day out to sales leaders, and the interesting thing is kind of you're selling social selling, if you want, like that. And in the sales process, you get concerns. What are the concerns you're seeing? That's the question one. And then the second question following on that is kind of where do you see social selling in the adoption rate? And I would like to understand then, Frederick, from you, if there's kind of some differences between the platforms, as kind of for adoption rates, for our audience, you always have kind of these bell curve. Yeah. So you have the early innovators, followed by the early adopters, followed by the early maturity, and this is kind of the break. Then you have the the followers or first followers, and then the late followers, and then kind of the people who probably don't have a smartphone today. So Sebastian, what are the concerns first of all you see with social selling today?
Yeah, I think the main competition for us as a salespeople regarding when it comes to Sales Navigator, when it comes to the implementation of the social selling strategy, is the status quo. So everything will stay like it is. Either I start with social selling, or I just keep everything how I have it now, right? So this is the main difficulty here to really see, okay, this what you have done now maybe worked in the past 10 years and will work maybe for the next few 1 or 2 years as well, but not that much that it was maybe 5 years ago. And I don't know, do I have the possibility of share slides as well here or not? There's only one slide that's coming to my mind right now. Just sharing my application here. We see here, this is where it was in the past, for example, where you had face-to-face meetings. You see my slides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had face-to-face meetings. This was maybe in the early 90s or 2000s. Then there was like the automation process, 2010. And then there's like the new era of sales where really relationship building at scale. So this is how social selling is defined here, to really get one ahead of the face-to-face meeting, ahead of the automation, really have a new era beginning, and to really have a higher performance in sales than we had with automation or face-to-face.
Okay. And what are the kind of the points that people are telling you? Kind of just say why they don't need it.
Sorry, this was a question. Yeah, it's the adoption. The adoption. So they don't think that their salespeople that they have at the moment, that they will adopt to the new way of working, to the new relationship building at scale, to the new social selling strategies. I think they have done the same thing for the last 20 years, and they will do it for the last, I would say, 5 years of the working life. And that's why I'm saying they don't think that they will change that quickly to adopt that. So mostly it's only adoption. It's not about like what about the platform. It's not about if the target audience is on the platform. It's really only the adoption, if the people will get on board on that or not. Especially if you talk to traditional industries where they have the sellers, which are at average. I wouldn't say it's based on age, but mostly this is what sales leaders are telling me. Oh, it's an average age of 55 in my sales department, so that's why I don't think that this will be something.
Mm-hmm.
And when we take this and kind of look on the bell curve, what we have, where do you think on this curve, kind of when we have like the different quadrants, at which stage do you think is Germany?
2.
Or in 2, so very, very early.
Yes.
Okay. That's very. Do you see it different, Frederick?
I'd say it depends on the market segment you're talking about. If you look at big enterprises like SAP, like Ramsey, I mean, if you listen to Ramsey's talk, you can tell that they're quite far ahead. So I would say they're something like a 4, or maybe, they started at the early stage of the market, sorry. For them, the market is mature, but they started as early adopters, definitely. But I think in the small and medium-sized enterprise business, so the smaller companies, I'd agree, we're in 2.
So kind of the best is still to come.
The best is still to come, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe one comment from my side on that, why I decided on 2, because there in 2 you have the highest growth, right? There's the point of the highest growth at the moment. And this is something what we saw in 2019 and 2020 right now, especially now accelerated through the Corona pandemic that we have, where in around March, April, May, a lot of customers came back to me with them I was talking 2 years ago and pitching social selling, talking about social. I say, Sebastian, you were completely right. We need to start exactly now. So we had a lot of customers that we had to onboard during the Corona pandemic, because they saw with that what we have now, we are not digitalized. We are not prepared for the pandemic. We are not prepared for making sales from home. We are not prepared for working from home. So those are the few steps that they had to do. And I was really shocked to have so many customers that they really come back to me and say, look, we need to do it now. We are very focused on that. And so that's why we are 2. Not so even close to 3.
Okay, wow. Would you say that from an international standpoint that Germany is behind other countries?
1000%. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, behind is a harsh word. We've been doing things differently, and they're very successful, I think, with that. And this this market trend, and I think we were confusing market maturity and the adoption of individual segments a little bit. But anyways, I think the market trend is coming into the DACH region now, so we're definitely behind especially the English-speaking regions, but that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing.
Have you also seen during the Corona crisis, like in the last months, an increase in adoption?
Definitely an increase in demand. In terms of adoption, Sebastian went into that. The difficulties and the challenges that sales organizations have in implementing social selling, they stay the same. Maybe even they are a little bit exacerbated because they're in a new situation. They're all doing this remotely. So getting people, for example, in a room together and having an onboarding for a new social selling tool is a little bit more difficult. But I think the demand and the willingness to adopt social selling has definitely grown.
Okay. When you look into the sales processes, is it often then kind of the integration that makes the problem, or do you see that it's just a new platform and it's a fear that people don't know what to do on the platform, or they are fearing that something's in the internet and they never can erase it, and kind of this big failure will ruin their life? Or is it kind of that they are just afraid that the people who are going on the platform will get hired from other people?
Well, I think I start, and Sebastian, I'm sure you can expand on that. I think the difficulty is that it's touching in many different levels of the sales organization and sales cycle. So first of all, of course, for individual sellers who will become social sellers, it's a change that they have to undergo. It's new skills that they have to acquire. At the same time, also for the sales leaders, it's adopting new goals, familiarizing themselves with a new strategy, new tools, new infrastructure. So it's a sales strategic point of view. So it touches on many different levels. And I think social selling being a strategic opportunity, that's what makes it hard at the end of the day. So it goes through all the levels.
I would like to jump into features of the platform as we want to learn about social selling, and these are now more or less mature platforms and with a lot of features. Frederick, what is your favorite feature in Xing?
My favorite feature in Xing? Oh, wow. That's a tough question.
You could also kind of change it into the most overseen feature.
The most overseen feature. Let me think for a second. I think, well, it's kind of a no-brainer, but my favorite feature is, if I had to pick just one, is the newsfeed. Because at the very basic level, especially in social selling, it enables you to do what social selling is about. It's about collecting the information that gives you insights that you can use to get into contact with relevant people with a relevant message. So that would be my one favorite feature I'd pick.
Sebastian, LinkedIn, your LinkedIn favorite feature?
I would have two favorite features. One favorite.
This is why it's called the favorite.
So the first one, I think, is the integration with the most relevant CRM tools to really see, to really not see LinkedIn as a standalone solution, but also the integration with everything what you have as a business, to really integrate it into your CRM, every messages that are sent out, every activity that is happening, to have a mirroring of all the data, to really see that is a part of the company and a part of the sales cycle of the of your sales team, and not only like it's something what is standalone. To really have an integration and see everything and have a really high data hygiene also in your CRM system, because there's also most of a pain of every seller to really do everything manually in your CRM system, to log all the codes and so on. And that way with LinkedIn you can now easily transfer everything and the activities are logged in.
I will get controversial on that point.
You can ask definitely questions. No worries at all. And the second of it is the tracking function. So it was previously called Point Drive. We call it now Smart Links. So you can create or you can upload your attachment that you would usually send via an email, and you can really track them through the whole sales cycle with a customer, for example. So if you're sending out first information, if you're sending out an offer, afterwards you can directly see to whom this offer was sent to, so you understand the buying cycle behind that. You see if somebody was opening attachment, how long it was open, and also which slide of the slide deck was looked at most often. So those are kind of the two main features where I would say, okay, this is something that not everybody knows directly at the first stage. So this is something that was my favorite.
Okay, if he gets to choose,
you also get the second advertising time. That's for sure.
So my feature in Xing Pro Business, I picked one from Xing.com, the main platform, from our social selling tool would be email alerts. And that's even, as I said, I'm not like in a very operative sales function, but what I do use is I monitor our partners, for example, you, Peter, and if you have a new contact, I get an email. And that's pretty amazing because I can see immediately, even though, as I said, I'm not looking into it daily, but I get an immediate notification and can decide whether that contact is something we should look into or if that's relevant for my sales team. That's cool.
That's very powerful. What is kind of, Sebastian, that's for you first, or what is the most missed or probably also most recommended feature for LinkedIn?
I think I didn't get the question. Wasn't it the same question as before, or was it different to the other?
No. What feature is missing?
Feature is missing.
Missing, and what gets requested the most?
What gets requested is automation. So people want to send automized messages to send out to a lot of people at bulk, but this is something that will never happen.
Absolutely.
Those are people that didn't understand social selling. Because social selling is about the quality of relationships and not the quantity. So this is something that is requested most, but it will never going to happen. Neither on Xing nor on.
No. I mean, I can speak for Xing Pro Business that yes, that's not something we're looking into. But maybe to add on that, I think what's missing at the moment in both of our social selling tools is if we take a step back and maybe look at the question you asked before, Peter, about the differences in social selling in the DACH region. I think those markets that are more mature are looking very much into personal branding, positioning yourself as an opinion leader through content. I call that inbound-driven or content-driven social selling. And I think these markets are a little bit further ahead. And I think both Sales Navigator and Pro Business are at the moment quite focused on outbound-driven social selling. So it's receiving the information, getting into one-to-one contact with people, and basically doing outreach via social media networks. I mean, the borders are blurry, definitely, between these two. But I think for the future, people are going to focus more, not abandon outbound-driven social selling, but focus even more on inbound-driven social selling. And I'd like for both platforms and for both social selling tools to see more of that. For example, tips on which content does best with your target audience. That would be awesome.
Regarding to jump back into a controversial topic before we go into the integrations again, automation. I mean, automation is something that is happening. Could it be a solution that at least LinkedIn and Xing is kind of creating up very much kind of the inbox, kind of to make kind of a proper inbox out of that, kind of something like with the same power as something like Gmail or Outlook has to offer, so that you have like additional services and probably even offer some kind of automation, probably paid, as kind of if you write emails, this is also paid, kind of to make it harder for any outside tools and make them less attractive.
I think I cannot speak for Xing right now, so I just talk for LinkedIn, and this is something that we really don't want to happen. right? I think if you compare to what happened like 30 years ago, maybe one thing that Gary Vaynerchuk always said, okay, what is the difference? Back then, he didn't use email as a sales or outbound tool because everybody was laughing about emails 30 years ago. Nowadays, we know emails are the best channel to really automate something. But if you would have used email back then, only less people would look at it, right? Or a few people will look at it. And then the open rate of those emails is very, very high. And this is similar to those channels, or for LinkedIn or Xing, for example, where this is not a channel which is at the moment too spammed, right? And the platforms really make it, we try hard to don't have the same effect as with email, that you can send out as many emails as you want. That's why we have the limitations of, for example, in the sales of 50 messages per month, that you cannot spam the platform, that you only work on your target audience. And I have a lot of customers, can we increase that? We pay whatever money you want. It doesn't matter how many money you will throw at us, we will never increase this, right? Because we know this is the most valuable thing at this platform, to really have this limitation. But one thing that we do is every time when you're sending out a message, on links such as an email, and the other person will start a conversation with you, so it's a positive reaction, even though he says like, oh, I'm not interested, it still counts. You're getting a credit back. So it means you can send out again an email. So if you send out 50 in a month and you get 25 responses, you can send out again 25 messages, right? So in the end, it's kind of unlimited, but only if you have a really good content and the people want to interact with you. So this is how it's made compared to an email tool, for example, where you can really spam the whole world as such. And that's why you have a low reaction on emails or conversion rate on email marketing. And that's what I think LinkedIn is really about, not to have the spam and to really have those limits there.
Frederick, do you have some comments to this point?
Well, yeah, I think that's a clever system, but if we look at automation, I think it's two things. The first is spamming people, and that's a no-go, I think, for both platforms. And the other is making the lives of salespersons easier. And that's a go, because, for example, if you send a message, reach out, and then change the status of that lead within the tool automatically, that's some kind of automation. Of course, you would make the outreach more efficient with, but you wouldn't enable spamming people with the same message that's irrelevant to them. So it's, yeah, I wouldn't generalize all automation is bad, but I think spamming people is what's bad.
Yeah, I mean, it could be also a way that you add, like in email or in similar pro-business messages, more features than what you could get at any other point. So kind of that you automatically react on events, that you automatically update specific things in the message. And is it weather? Is it current situations? Is it kind of a change in the title? So kind of that you make it more attractive kind of to people to really focus in the tools or on the tools in the platforms. And this is kind of another thing regarding a platform. And I mean, I totally agree with you. And when we look at all the channels, which will be actually a point in my upcoming talk, it's that every channel, what we had is kind of in the beginning, when it's upcoming, because it's driven by a change of behavior, and then it's a very good channel. Take telephone, take email. It's not only email. What happened is that people saw it's converting well. I can do sales. They automized it. They put a lot of pressure on the channel. The conversion dropped, so they put more pressure on the channel. And I mean, sales people are like SEO people. They are like they jump on a channel and then kind of destroy it over the time. I mean, at search engine optimization times, it's like, oh, a keyword is good. Okay, let's put like 5,000 keywords onto one page. It's like, oh, I just have to call one, and when I have someone, it's like, and out of 10, I make one sales. Okay, I want to reach 1,000 people a day. So let's put on the auto dialer and go for it. And I mean, the same thing has happened with emails. Yeah, it's like the first emails are getting very mad. I mean, and this is the transition of the sales person, that also the channel survived, I think, way longer in the times before, and now it's way shorter. So kind of you have to understand, you even have to adopt at the platforms and kind of on how you were approaching kind of people like a few years or like even a year ago. You don't approach the person like that because you see differences and in the conversion rates. But I want to come back to another thing. It's kind of this protection and kind of these two parts. What I think, Frederick, you pinpointed out very nice, kind of helping the salesperson. Because I mean, it's a business platform. We are there to make business. We are there to make sales also, and kind of protecting the platform and the integrity. And the same thing is kind of with openness and integration. And Sebastian, you said you're very proud of the integration. I would challenge this, especially now you're obviously bought by Microsoft, and Microsoft's doing a strong push in Dynamics CRM. And already when you see kind of the integration, kind of let's say the most prominent into Salesforce, or say an integration of LinkedIn into even like of our partners for today, like Freshworks. It's good on a company level, like, but on a personal level, it's kind of, you nearly can't forget it. And is it just in Salesforce because you have to click it 4 times until you're kind of you're matching all the things. And the same is kind of counting even probably sometimes more with Xing, that you would wish kind of to have more integrations and a better data flow on between kind of the different systems and CRMs. Also kind of because it's the strongest telephone book you have as a salesperson, Xing and LinkedIn. How do you see kind of this openness and should be there more openness and interaction, especially like with other tools, CRM systems? Frederick, do you want to start?
Do I want to start? Yeah, I think this discussion is mostly relevant for the enterprises who are at the mature stage of the market already, who have adopted social selling. For them, it's really relevant because they want to scale it and make it more efficient. I think for the small and medium-sized enterprises, and by the way, we're focusing very much on those, and then to enable them to do social selling, I think that's not the core challenge they're facing. We discussed earlier, it's about change in the sales organization. It's about enabling the salespeople themselves to, first of all, to get what the benefits are, and then to develop the routines. And then at a later stage, you can go on top of that and make it more efficient with integrations. So I think, yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, of course there are some caveats, as you pointed out, for people in terms of data protection. We get some objections or people asking about this. Of course, all of that. But I think it depends very much on which market segment you're talking about and at what stage your customers are in their individual social selling journey.
Sebastian, openness of the platform.
With openness of the platform, you mean to what intents integrate into more systems, or in which direction do we go? To the future outlook, or to the integration that we have at the moment?
You can comment on both.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we are integrating at the moment with the, I think, most common CRM systems, which is Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, HubSpot, Sugar CRM, SAP as well. So there's a lot of possibility to integrate. So few of them, their connection is really deep, like with Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics, for example. A few of them are a bit weaker. So it really depends also on the CRM system. So that's why LinkedIn doesn't decide which CRM system we want to integrate, or which marketing automation tool like HubSpot, for example, we want to decide. It's only up to the CRM provider. So LinkedIn has an API, everybody can connect to this API, but then it's really up to the provider if they want to integrate towards LinkedIn or not. So that's why we don't have a lot of, so we have some partnerships, but those main partnerships are already done. So it's always up to the providers if they want to integrate towards LinkedIn or not.
And do you see it as a way to make this more powerful, this API?
Definitely. So this is something that we really see as a key trigger as well, that they always ask, okay, what happens with the data, that it happens on the platform. So if somebody is going to another company, for example, if somebody's leaving my company, do I still need to pay for the license? What's happening with the data that was collected with them? So this is everything that we can collect in a CRM system. And that's why this is something where they really see, okay, this is something which is integrated in the sales and a sales cycle that is already in place. And it's only an additional channel. How do they see it, right? It's an additional channel to really make use of it and to have everything under one umbrella, which is my CRM.
Yeah. I would like to jump back into a more easy water. And actually what we have, besides kind of these beginners in social selling, but we also have kind of the more or less experts, or kind of, let's say, the advanced users. Who of us is really an expert? This will turns out. But when we see kind of the advanced users, do you have any tips, any recommendations kind of in how to improve their social selling game?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Sebastian, please. And please, what are your favorite tips you're giving?
So
kind of maximum 3, yeah.
Maximum like 3, okay.
It's more like a fast fire.
Yeah. Don't spam. So this is what we talked before. It's really not spamming the platform. It's not all about automation. It's really make the one-to-one communication with the person and really personalize your outreach. And you see a lot of messages that maybe other people are doing that only copy and paste. Don't be one of those, right? And really make best use of it, and to really interact with the people. Maybe also with the Sales Navigator, you can also follow people across a certain time and see, did he post maybe an article? Did he change jobs? Anything that's happening on LinkedIn, but also on third-party networks. For example, if I would save Peter in my network, I would get all the information that's happening about Peter, not only on the LinkedIn platform, but also on other blog articles, on his own website, on newsletter articles, so everything. So there's a crawler of the whole web to really get me all the information about Peter in one spot, which is the home screen of the Sales Navigator then, and then really make use of this information to reach out to those people.
Okay, I think those are great tips for social sellers directly, because you were asking about advanced users. I think in a great addition to that is to look at the sales leaders or the sales strategists, because I think you can get the advanced users in the companies even more advanced if you consider it as a strategy. So for sales leaders, my tips would be, well, first, look at adoption strategically. So educate your users, develop the skill sets they need for social selling. That's pretty important. Second, look at the processes that you have in your company. Define goals. I mean, it's like every strategy, it needs an implementation plan. Also think about the support that people get. So build your social selling champions in the company. Look at how marketing can collaborate, for example, to produce content that you can then distribute on the platforms. And of course, look at the infrastructure that you have and the tools and how you can measure impact. So that would be my tips for the social selling leaders as an addition to the social sellers themselves.
I have now multiple. First of all, thank you very much, Frederik, Sebastian, for these insights. I have a few more short questions. Actually, I missed before. Are there any new features of the platform upcoming you can already leak right now?
We can leak. Sebastian, do you want to start?
Yes, sure, I can start. I think one function that everybody saw in the last months was the function of stories. So it is something that we started in Latin America. We piloted there. We saw that it was really good usage there. So this is how we bring it to the EMEA region as well, also to Germany, to really have stories at LinkedIn, which is kind of weird at the beginning because then like story, it remembers me TikTok, it remembers me on Instagram, but it's something to really have business focused stories to really implement this on this platform as well. So we made the functionality, and this we will see how this is also adapted in the EMEA region and also especially the DACH region, where I'm very interested in. So this is one thing. And another thing is LinkedIn events. So you can really create events as well. This is something that Xing had already before, the way you can really start your event, make also live streams within LinkedIn to really host your webinar on the LinkedIn platform directly, going live. So this is something that you also maybe know from other platforms. And one thing that is completely new now is to have automatic replies, because LinkedIn is getting so much more into business driven that this is something that I was missing before as well, because when I'm on holidays, most of the clients are also reaching out via LinkedIn to me, so I don't want them to reach out on holidays, and that's why I always wish to have like an automatic reply. For example, to say, hey, I'm on holiday the next 2 weeks, please don't reach out to me or reach out to my colleague or something like that. So this is something that is upcoming and will also be on the LinkedIn platform.
Nice. Frederic.
Yeah, I mean, I would separate that between the Xing platform overall and Xing for Business, the social selling tool. So for the Xing platform, I think what we will see, and I'm not into all the details of that because I'm responsible, as I said, for Pro Business, but what I think we will see is that in terms of interaction, it doesn't always have to be the big stage. It can also be more one-on-one or one-on-few communications. So going more into smaller circles, I think that's something we're looking into. And at the same time, of course, offering more possibilities for interaction and for engagement in the conversations. In terms of Pro Business, as I've elaborated before, I see that social selling, the market is developing. We're currently, our core target customers are very much into outbound-driven social selling. So we will continue to invest in that in Pro Business to make it easier for sellers to reach out and also deliver them information so that for buyers, it gets more relevant, more timely. I think that's even more important. At the second level, I think the social selling education part is really important to foster adoption in the market. So educational content and onboarding of users is really important, something we're looking into. And the third point is, of course, in the mid to long term, as I've said, I think we're going to develop into more inbound-driven social selling. So features that help you distribute your content, finding out what's the right content, how you can interact even more with your target audience. That's what we're going to see.
Very interesting. Looking forward to all of these features and this development. And I would like to ask also our audience, if you have any open questions, please feel free to put them into the chat so that we can ask it to Frederic from Xing or Sebastian from LinkedIn. And I have 2 more questions. Actually, a very short one. Any favorite sales tool next or without Xing or LinkedIn?
Okay, let me think. I mean, the obvious contender is the CRM. And which one? Well, I like Salesforce for its enterprise level features, but I really, really like Pipedrive and Close.io, and of course HubSpot, for them being really user-centered around the sales cycle.
Yeah, there are so too much tools for being a favorite. So do you have any favorite yourself? What you enjoy using day in day out?
That would be Salesforce then.
That would be Salesforce. Sebastian.
I think I will take out the CRM thing. I think to have a CRM, everybody knows, but it's when it's come to outreaching.
Everybody knows, should have.
I hope so, at least. But if it comes to
it's probably when you ask them on the curve, it's again more in the front than you think.
And it's Vidyard. I don't know if you saw Vidyard before. Vidyard is something where you can make sales outreach, or you can also use it via email, you can use it via LinkedIn, it doesn't matter, but you can leave a video message to your cold acquisition customer or cold customer to really leave a message, 30 seconds, and really introduce yourself and then start a pitch. It's like a difference, or I would say it's additionally to that, what you can do via text or via written outreach.
Thank you very much. I have a last topic, actually not having something to do with sales. Both companies and platforms you're representing are real content powerhouses. And tonight we have the first electoral conversation between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And we also have a big problem in our society with misinformation. Are there any things you're aware of regarding, do you think this will be also a bigger topic for your platform in the future? And do some of you also see that this will become a bigger topic for your platform, and what should the platform do about?
Maybe one comment from my side there is that it's very important how you reveal those data and how you work with those data, how you process those data. And based on that LinkedIn, same as Microsoft, because we are one company, is to have everything, of course, GDPR compliant, or in Germany you would say DSGVO compliant. But this is one that is also the trust. And I think trust, when it comes to data, it's all about trust. And that's why LinkedIn is very keen about how is the brand also recognized on the market. If is it a platform that you can trust in, is it not? And that's why we're doing all those studies on the market as well, compared to maybe Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all the others platform, YouTube. How is the trust relation between the person or the B2C person, so the individual, towards this platform? In the last few years, LinkedIn was always on the top. And this is something it's very, very important for LinkedIn, that we are not jumping out at even one step below that, because we want to be the most trusted platform. And that's why when we do business, doesn't matter if it's marketing related, like campaigns, or if it's sales related, only to work with clients that are really focus on their business, don't have any political implications or anything that could burn the trust of LinkedIn or the platform.
Well, yeah, something I can add to that is that I think if you look at misinformation, what has happened with these kinds of campaigns in the US, because our philosophy in terms of openness and automation is, I'd say, a little bit more restricted as opposed to other platforms coming from the US. Not LinkedIn specifically, but might be any other platform. So, for example, to spread ads as automized and as manipulative in targeting would be much harder. And at the second level, if you look at individual messages and profiles, I know that there are on Xing, as they are on LinkedIn, the features you need for flagging spam, for flagging fake profiles. And I know that we have invested in the resources so that we can be quick about mitigating these cases. So I think we're doing a good job there.
Yeah, very thankful for that. I think it will be an important part for both platforms in the upcoming future. So regarding you already pointed in this direction, I would like to present the question from Johannes Powell's. What about data protection? How both organizations are dealing with it? So any things you want to add or pinpoint out as a broad field and a broad question?
Frederick, you want to start, or shall I?
Yeah, start, please.
Yep. So regarding data protection, and also when it comes to what I said as well, GDPR before, as in 2018, it was a really big topic in Europe. This is where Microsoft and LinkedIn started to say, hey, we don't want to be GDPR compliant only in Europe, but also in the whole world. So that's why we changed our systems the way that in APAC, in AMER, but also in EMEA, we were completely GDPR compliant with all the systems that we have. So really, so this is our number one priority, to have to only have those customer data with customers that we're dealing with, for example, internally with B2B customers, I have only access to data with customers that I'm dealing with, but also on the other side that not every member can access other privacy data. So this is the most important thing. Also with Sales Navigator, you cannot export any data to CSV files or Excel files and so on. So everything, all the data stays within the platform and will not go to any other users or any third party.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can only second that. And besides stating the obvious that we're GDPR compliant, I think that's deep in the philosophy of Xing. We call it Datenschutz made in Germany, data protection made in Germany. You can read about it on, I think, privacy.xing.com. That's something we actively position ourselves with. But I think what's also interesting there is how we're dealing with as a sales organization, because as I said, in social selling, that's sometimes an objection we get from companies saying, okay, if I do outreach on Xing and I get the leads back, how is this? It's a personal contact. How is everything of this GDPR compliant? So, and I think, Sebastian, you're likely to get the same questions from time to time. This is always, for us, it's not the easiest questions because we can't, of course, be a legal counsel for our customers. Yeah. So we can't say, this is how you should do it, but we can always tell how other customers are doing it and how we are doing it, and that helps. So this is one way for us to deal with these kind of questions from customers.
There is another question that arrived in my inbox. Are you measuring your users, and if so, do they have an internal score? And how can you improve it?
How can you improve it? That's really nice.
Yeah. Frederick, do you want to go first?
How can you improve it? Well,
so there is an internal. So there is so there is a help score for your profile.
For your profile, I don't know specifically, but I'm sure there is. I think if you operate a digital platform, social media platform of any kind, you will analyze what your users are doing and look at how you can improve the platform. So definitely, I think in both platforms there will be something like this. People looking at how we can make the platform better. Definitely. My favorite score is revenue per customer, and I can definitely give you some tips on how to improve that.
That's very nice. Everyone can return Frederick after that. I will. That's always good.
So we don't have any internal scores, but what we have is the SSI. It's the social selling index, and it's more based on salespeople on the platform. And everybody can view their own social selling score. So you just have your we have your URL ring and then slash SSI, and then you can really view what score you have yourself. I think, Peter, do you know your SSI by hand? Do you have it by hand? Do you know it?
Something like I'm not good. I've like failing in content.
Around
so
70,
like 84,
maybe?
something
84
like that.
is really good.
84
is really good. So compared to the others, it's definitely good. So it's a score between 0 and 100.
I have to push content.
Yeah. So it's a score between 0 and 100, and it measures how are you engaged on a platform. So how is your profile? Is it complete or not? Then also, do you post relevant content that is shared again, that is liked and comment a lot? Do you use the Sales Navigator a lot? How well do you filter with the Sales Navigator? And also, there's a fourth point. As your connection. So how many connections do you have? So based on those 4 categories, you will get a social selling index, and there's an index that we see to really tell our clients, okay, are you in the right shape? Are you going in the right direction or not? And everybody can view it. And also, if you view it, there are tips and tricks how to improve this score. So there's a slide share of 6 slides each category to really improve the score as well.
Yeah, maybe one last addition to that from my side, because the end of the question was how to improve that. I mean, what you should aim at improving is, of course, setting your own goals and then iterating on those. So, for example, if you are into building your own followership, or if you are into outreach, that's a more specific goal than looking at all the spectrum of social selling. And I think it makes sense to set your own goals and look at that kind of scoring that you get.
That's a very, it would be a very great last word. Still, I want to have one more tip from your side regarding my content. Once I have more reach, quality or quantity.
Well,
I think you can answer yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Any tips?
Both.
Yeah, I know.
No, but at the end of the day, it's about quality. I think that's part of the mindset of social selling. And Sebastian, you went into that before. That's part of the mindset of social selling, that you focus on quality over quantity, because quality in the end will bring you quantity if you're into quantity.
Yeah. And maybe one thing, okay, how can I improve my reach, or what's dependent on the reach? So it's not about how many posts you do, but also how viral do they posts go. For example, how many likes, how many comments do you getting in the first couple of hours of this post? Is it shared by others, for example, right? So those are things that are very important for you to really get a higher reach.
Great. Thank you very much. I learned some new things. Thanks for the insights. It was a big pleasure. I hope we hear us soon again. Not only each of us, like in a one-on-one, also like again on a panel. I really enjoyed it. What I'm reading, kind of also our audience enjoyed it very much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your trust. And I said the best things are still up and coming. And this is not a transition to my talk next time. It's regarding that we are still growing, kind of that the majority of people are first joining social selling. Besides that, if you're interested in social selling, we've done like, I think now over 200 B2B sales projects over the last 5 years. So who wants to listen? What are my learnings? Who are actually overlapping with some things, what you've told already. And then please stay in the channel. We start kind of in short 3 to 4 minutes. Frederick, Sebastian, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Peter.